Hi, everyone. Hopefully, you had a productive week. I just came back from conference, primary care conference, 4 days. It was very, very good, really informative, got a lot of updates. So it was awesome. Okay, so I told y'all that I would go ahead and let you get a little more information that you can continue moving along in the process. So you've got your company formed, you've got your, corporation or your LLC, form. Okay, now you need a tax ID number to identify that. Um, through the IRS. So you get on irs.gov and then you type in EIN and it will take you to the page where you fill out the application. It's very simple. It just asks for basic information about your organization. And then you put that information, it's free of charge, and then it will generate an EIN or a tax ID number for your organization or your company. So once you do that, one thing I wanted to mention, you want to make sure you do that during business hours. If you try to do it in the middle of the night, it's going to seem like something's wrong with the website. But it's not. It's just that they only generate those numbers during a business hour type schedule. I don't know if they have like little worker bees back there verifying information or what, but you won't get one in the middle of the night. Okay, so once you got your EIN number, you can go on to opening business accounts, credit accounts, and so forth. So you have to have the EIN number to identify your organization as an actual legitimate business. And so you have to have that before you get any kind of, business account anywhere. Along with, if you're going into a financial institution like a bank, sometimes they will ask for your articles of formation, which is the page that you get when you've basically formed your company that says who's in there, who's allowed to make decisions, all the roles are outlined. They look for that because they want to make sure that you're allowed to, open this account under this business name and you're not like in there trying to commit fraud. So once you have your EIN and you begin opening accounts and so forth, um, you want to also consider some other funding options. So while you're at the bank, you can inquire about like maybe a traditional small business loan, or they also have loans for specific to healthcare providers in a lot of these banking institutions now, where the application is a lot shorter. The traditional small business application a lot of times does require a business plan, and that can get lengthy depending on what all their requirements are. So you can use your financial institution, one that you've been with forever, or another option is there are lenders that work only with healthcare providers, which is what I went to. I chose to use a lender that only worked with healthcare providers because the process was a lot simpler. Essentially, I filled out a 3-page application. They do verify, income and credit and so forth as well. But it was a really short application, and I was approved in like 48 hours. I mean, it was seamless. They were excellent. They weren't local. I worked with them, via telephone and emailing and so forth. But they were awesome. So I did that. So that's also an option. And there are various lenders out here that work just specifically with healthcare organizations. I actually got that idea from a magazine. I was reading an article about a physician who started her own practice, and that's what she did because she was essentially denied a loan at her bank. So she did that. So that's where I got my idea. The other thing you can do is save. Saving tax returns is a good resource. If you don't really need to spend the money, don't. I know a lot of people get a lot of money back income tax time and they just blow it, And I actually saved my tax return for a couple of years, and that's how I was able to pay for my graduate education without having to take out additional loans. I did tuition reimbursement, and I also had that money that I had saved. So it adds up if you guys just save it. If you're not in a position to save like that, and like I said, you can do the traditional financing option. If you're going to do a nonprofit, there are a lot of grant opportunities available for nonprofits. If you're in a rural area, there are a lot of monies out there for rural areas and clinics that are in the underserved, quote unquote, area. Not a lot of grant money out here for a for-profit entity. I looked, there isn't anything. Some of the community meetings, there's like those town hall meetings, or, for the small businesses in your community, there are a lot of meetings that go on monthly, weekly, and it'd be good to get plugged into those networks because you'd be surprised what you uncover. Your particular city may have, money out there for you to start a clinic if there's a need. I would say maybe about 50 to 60,000 is plenty if you're going to do primary care. Excuse me. because primary care is not very expensive. It doesn't require a whole lot of equipment. It doesn't require a whole lot of specialty meds and so forth. When you start getting into specialties, there's a lot of diagnostic equipment and a lot of really expensive medications that are required, and so it can drive the startup cost up. Primary care, all you need is exam rooms and exam tables. Medication cost is minimal. Only thing that's going to really be expensive is vaccines. If you start, if you want to administer vaccines, because we do that in primary care, those vaccines can be expensive. But there are also subsidized programs. Like I know here in Texas, we have the Vaccines for Children's program. You have to be a Medicaid provider to qualify, but they do offer where they will basically send you the vaccines for free. It's not free. They don't like to say that it's free because somebody's paying for it, but they'll send them to you to be able to give to your administer to your community to that specific underserved population. So you don't need a whole huge space. I have like a 1,500 square foot space that has 3 exam rooms, a lab, a nurse's station, an office for myself, 2 restrooms, and a really decent sized lobby and break room. So don't go out here trying to, break the bank. Be as frugal as possible. Get on Craigslist. You don't have to buy everything brand new. You can get exam tables and a lot of other various equipment to start on Craigslist or from other providers that are maybe downsizing or they're moving to another location. They have a whole bunch of extra stuff that they don't need. I mean, that would be a good place to start, not to have to absorb a whole bunch of cost in furniture. Another thing I wanted to mention was that you want to make sure that your overhead cost is minimal. You don't want to go out here and lease this grandiose space that you're stuck paying $7,000 a month rent for, and it's eating you alive. That's what happens to a lot of those primary care offices. That's why they don't make it, because the overhead is so expensive. You don't need all of that initially. You just need a space to see patients, essentially. You want to be in a safe location, but try to be frugal, try to be mindful of that cost so you can save as much as possible, because you want to be able to provide a decent level of care, but you don't want to break the bank. Okay, so save money. Look into getting a grant if you're going to be a nonprofit. And I would suggest, making sure that you get somebody that's experienced with grant writing. Don't go out here and say, I'm good at writing. I'm gonna write my own grant. No, because there are very specific parameters for that, and so you want to make sure that it's done correctly, or you'll just be wasting a whole bunch of time. So I hope that was helpful for you all and that you're able to get some decent information. I'll put some links up to some of the healthcare provider websites, as well as the Small Business Association website, where you can get also a lot of information on how to get funding for various things. Okay, so I hope you guys have a good night.